Your cat isn't just feeling cold in winter. According to researchers studying feline thermoregulation and kidney function, the exact conditions most owners create to keep their cats warm, cranking up the heat, sealing every window, letting them curl up by the radiator, are quietly triggering a chain of physical stress that cats are biologically designed to hide from the people they trust most. And here's what makes that so unsettling. The signs of that suffering look almost identical to the signs of a cat that is completely comfortable and content. Most owners spend entire winters watching their cat grow quieter, slower, and more withdrawn, and read every single one of those signs as their cat simply being a cat in winter. That misread happens because of one thing most people genuinely don't understand about cats. They don't complain. Not the way dogs do, not the way we do. Cats evolved as both predators and prey, which means showing vulnerability, even to the humans they've bonded with most deeply, goes against something wired into them at an evolutionary level that domestication hasn't fully touched. So when they're dehydrated, when their lungs are quietly irritated, when their joints ache from cold floors and temperature swings, they don't cry out, they get quieter. They sleep a little more. They pull back just enough that the distance is easy to miss. And the owner, sitting across the room, sees a peaceful cat and feels like they're doing everything right. There's one specific thing your cat does in winter that almost every owner has witnessed, and almost every owner has completely misread. Most people assume it means their cat found the perfect warm spot. Most people assume it means contentment. We are going to get to that near the end of this video, and when we do, it will change how you've been reading your cat's entire winter. So stay with me, because what's coming at the end is the part most owners wish someone had explained to them years earlier. Let's start with the one that surprises people the most. 1. Turning up the heat. Here's what most owners assume. A warmer house equals a happier cat. It feels logical. It feels like love. You raise the thermostat, your cat finds a soft spot, and everything looks exactly right. But here's what's happening inside your cat's body while the heating system runs. Forced air heating pulls moisture out of the air aggressively. As the humidity in your home drops, it begins pulling moisture from everything available, including your cat's skin, their nasal passages, and the delicate mucosal lining of their lungs. Now here's the part that makes this especially dangerous for cats specifically. Cats have one of the lowest innate thirst drives of any domesticated animal on Earth. They evolved in arid environments where nearly all their hydration came from prey tissue rather than drinking water directly. That means they're already walking a fine line between adequate hydration and the beginning of a deficit under normal conditions. Add dry indoor winter air to that equation, and the deficit deepens, quietly, invisibly, one day building on the next. A 2019 study, published in the Journal of Feline Medicine and Surgery, found that chronic low-grade dehydration is one of the leading contributors to feline urinary tract disease, and that many cats living in centrally heated homes during winter months show biochemical markers of mild dehydration without their owners ever suspecting anything. No dramatic signs, no obvious drinking less, just slightly thicker urine, slightly longer litter box visits, and kidneys working harder than they should. Day after day. Through months they should be perfectly comfortable. To your cat, that sustained dehydration feels like a slow heaviness they cannot shake, like trying to function normally when something is subtly wrong every single day. And most cats live through entire winters feeling exactly that, while their owners stand next to the thermostat feeling like they're taking excellent care of them. The fix is direct. Add a humidifier to the room your cat spends the most time in. Place water fountains in at least 2 different spots in the home. Cats are significantly more likely to drink from moving water than from a still bowl. And shift toward wet food as much as possible during winter months, warmed gently to just below body temperature. That single change alone can meaningfully offset the hidden dehydration that indoor heating builds silently through the cold season. In a moment, I'm going to show you something that compounds this problem. A second mistake that layers onto the heating issue and creates the kind of physical stress your cat genuinely cannot escape. But first, something that might surprise you even more. 2. Sealing every window to keep the warmth in. Think about how a fully sealed home feels after a few hours in winter. The air gets thick, a little stale. That's not your imagination playing tricks. When a home is sealed against the cold, fresh air stops circulating, and what accumulates inside is a mixture of carbon dioxide, airborne dust particles, microscopic mold spores, and volatile organic compounds released from furniture, carpets, the heating system itself, and cleaning products. For you, that's mildly uncomfortable at worst. For your cat, it becomes something meaningfully different. Cats process air through an olfactory system that is roughly 14 times more sensitive than a human's. Their nose, their sinuses, the entire respiratory pathway, all of it is calibrated to detect and respond to airborne particles at a level we simply don't experience. In a sealed winter home, the irritants you barely register are hitting your cat's respiratory system at a completely different intensity. The result is low-level chronic inflammation, a constant low hum of physical irritation that never fully resolves because the source is always present, always circulating, impossible to escape. Here's what that looks like from the outside. Your cat sleeps more than usual. They seem a little sluggish. They sneeze occasionally, which you chalk up to dust. They seem like they're just in a winter mood. What's actually happening is that their immune system is working overtime just to manage the air quality of the room they cannot leave. Researchers studying indoor air quality and companion animal health have found that cats in poorly ventilated homes during winter months show elevated cortisol levels, a direct hormonal stress response to sustained physical irritation. Most owners look at that same cat and see a relaxed animal. Think about that for a second. The most common visible sign of respiratory stress in cats is almost indistinguishable, to the people who love them most, from simple contentment. The solution doesn't require anything dramatic. Crack a window for 10 minutes each day, even in cold weather, preferably during daylight hours when outdoor air quality is cleanest. Keep your cat away from the direct draft, but let the air move through the room. If you live somewhere that makes this genuinely impractical, a high-quality HEPA air purifier placed near where your cat spends most of their time will make a real difference. Your home stays warm. Your cat gets to breathe something closer to what their respiratory system was built for. And hey, if this is already changing how you see your cat's winter behavior, hit subscribe. It's the best way to help other cat owners discover what their cats have been quietly trying to tell them. Now here's where things get really interesting. 3. Where your cat sleeps. 3. Where your cat sleeps. And what it's really telling you. Think about the last time you noticed your cat shift their sleeping spot in winter. Maybe they drifted toward the radiator. Maybe they press against the heating vent in the morning. Maybe they spend part of the day on a cold tile floor and then migrate to the warmest corner by late afternoon. That constant searching and shifting looks, to most owners, like a cat being pleasantly fussy about comfort. But what it actually is a cat whose body is struggling to regulate its own temperature in an environment that swings between too cold and too hot without ever settling. Here's what most people don't realize about feline thermoregulation. A cat's ideal core body temperature sits between 101 and 102.5 degrees Fahrenheit. Maintaining that in winter requires more metabolic energy than most owners account for. A cat sleeping on a cold, hard floor is burning through reserves just to stay warm. Reserves that should be going toward immune function, tissue repair, and digestion. And a cat pressed against a metal radiator is swinging to the opposite extreme, drying out skin, overheating surface tissue, and triggering mild dehydration through sustained, localized heat. In the wild, cats solved this through dynamic movement, following sun-warmed surfaces, shifting with the light, using the environment intelligently. In your sealed, climate-controlled home, those options are limited. So they do what they can. This is where I want to introduce you to a cat named Mochi. Mochi's owner first noticed something shifting in January 2 years ago. Mochi had always been a closely bonded cat, following her owner from room to room, sleeping near their feet at night, pressing her forehead against their hand without any invitation. But that January, Mochi started spending almost all of every day near the heating vent in one corner of the living room. She stopped following her owner. She ate, used the litter box, and returned to that spot. Her owner watched this and assumed Mochi had finally found her perfect winter place. She looked warm. She looked peaceful. She looked exactly like a happy cat in winter. What her owner didn't know was that Mochi was in the early stages of joint inflammation, a condition significantly worsened by the repeated cycle of cold floor exposure in the mornings, followed by direct dry heat from the vent for hours at a time. She wasn't relaxing in that corner. She was guarding it, because moving had quietly started to hurt. We are going to come back to Mochi later in this video, because what happened next is exactly the thing I mentioned at the very beginning. And it is the part most owners never see coming until it's already been going on for months. For your cat right now, here's what to do. Create elevated sleeping zones using a soft raised bed. Even a few inches off the floor creates a meaningful difference in temperature consistency. If you want to use a heating pad, use only pads designed specifically for pets, with automatic shutoff and low heat settings. Always place a folded towel between the pad surface and your cat's bed. The goal is steady, even warmth, not heat that spikes and fades and forces your cat to keep adjusting. 4. Winter scents. Candles, diffusers, and what they actually do inside your cat's body. Here's what nobody tells you about winter scenting. The aromatic compounds in most candles, essential oil diffusers, and air fresheners, even the ones marketed as natural, plant-based, or therapeutic, are processed by the human liver using a specific metabolic pathway. Your liver handles them without incident. Your cat's liver cannot. Cats lack a key enzyme process called glucuronidation, which means certain aromatic compounds, including many found in the most popular winter scents, things like cinnamon, pine, eucalyptus, clove, and cedar, don't get broken down and expelled. They accumulate. A 2020 review published by the American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals found that essential oil exposure is one of the most consistently underreported sources of feline illness, precisely because the symptoms build slowly and are easy to attribute to something else entirely. Your cat doesn't react immediately. They don't collapse or cry. Instead, over days and weeks, you might notice them sneezing more frequently, grooming their face more than usual, subtly avoiding the room where you run the diffuser, or seeming slightly dimmer, less alert, less reactive, less like the cat you know. Each of those signals, on its own, looks like almost nothing. Together, they are a picture of a body quietly under sustained chemical stress. To your cat, that diffuser running every evening isn't aromatherapy. It's a slow, cumulative exposure to something their metabolism cannot clear. And in a sealed winter home, remember, the windows are closed, fresh air isn't moving through. Those compounds concentrate in the air rather than dispersing. The safest path forward is unscented soy or beeswax candles, a quality air purifier, and keeping any diffusers completely out of rooms your cat frequents. If scent is important to your home in winter, choose where you use it carefully, and always ensure some ventilation is present when you do. 5. The extra winter scoop, and what it actually costs your cat. Most owners have done this. The temperature drops, the evenings stretch longer, and something instinctive in us wants to give our cats a little more. A slightly fuller bowl, an additional treat at night. It feels like comfort. It feels like the right seasonal impulse. But here's what's happening inside your cat's body when food intake increases without activity increasing alongside it. Cats living indoors during winter move significantly less. Not because they hibernate. Cats don't hibernate, but because the triggers that drive their hunting instincts have diminished. Shorter daylight, less visible wildlife through windows, less ambient energy moving through the household. Their appetite, however, remains calibrated to what they'd normally need for an active day. So they eat the same amount or slightly more, move less, and store the difference. A 2018 study from the Cornell Feline Health Center found that even a 15% increase in body weight measurably elevates stress on feline joints, raises the risk of hepatic lipidosis, a form of liver disease, and significantly decreases a cat's willingness to engage in play and social interaction. That last finding is the one most owners miss entirely. A cat that has gained winter weight doesn't just look a little different, they feel worse, they play less, they interact less. They gradually become a quieter, more withdrawn version of themselves. And their owner, watching them rest more and initiate less, often reads that as their cat simply being relaxed and settled. Most owners go their cat's entire winter, sometimes their cat's entire life, without realizing that the weight they added out of love was the thing that slowly muted the animal in front of them. Keep portions consistent with your cat's actual activity level through winter. Increase quality rather than quantity. Wet food warmed to just below body temperature satisfies cats more completely, hydrates them simultaneously, and is easier on their digestive system. Treats are absolutely fine, but treat them as part of the daily caloric total, not additions on top of it. 6. The disappearing play. And the thing your cat has been trying to tell you all along. Remember earlier when I said there was one thing your cat does in winter that almost every owner has completely misread? This is it. Stay with me here, because this is the part that matters most. When the days get shorter and the house gets quieter, most cats begin to sleep more. They settle. They go still. And most owners look at that and see a cat that is resting and content. But here's what's actually happening in your cat's brain when that stillness sets in. Cats are obligate hunters. Their neurology is built around a complete predatory sequence: stalk, chase, catch, kill, eat, groom, sleep, that must run through multiple times every single day for their brain chemistry to stay balanced. When that sequence goes unfulfilled, their brain doesn't simply get bored. It begins producing measurably elevated stress hormones. Cortisol rises, serotonin drops, and the cat that was once bright-eyed and responsive begins to flatten. Not dramatically, not in a way that looks like crisis, but gradually, over weeks, in a way that is almost impossible to distinguish from a cat who is simply calm. A 2021 study from the University of Lincoln found that cats who went without adequate interactive play for more than 3 consecutive days showed measurable increases in stress-related behaviors, including excessive grooming, increased furniture scratching, and meaningful social withdrawal. 3 days, that is all it takes for the neurochemistry to begin shifting. And in winter, many cats go not 3 days, but 3 months without the kind of play that actually fulfills that instinctive sequence. Now remember Mochi. Her owner had noticed sometime around December that Mochi had stopped engaging with her feather wand. She'd dangle it, and Mochi would watch without moving. Her owner assumed Mochi had simply outgrown it. Maybe she'd matured past that kind of play. The toy went into a drawer, and Mochi spent the rest of that winter in a slow, quiet decline that looked from the outside exactly like a cat choosing to rest through the cold months. By February, her owner brought her to the vet because something felt wrong. Not dramatic, just fundamentally off. The vet found early-stage joint inflammation and asked one question: how much has she been playing? The answer was almost nothing since November. That's what winter play deprivation does. It doesn't announce itself loudly. It accumulates in silence. And by the time an owner feels it, months have already passed that cannot be given back. 10 minutes of focused, intentional, interactive play twice a day is enough to reset the entire neurochemical rhythm. Use a toy that mimics real prey movement. Something that darts, pauses, retreats, changes direction unpredictably. And always let your cat catch it at the end. That final catch releases dopamine in a way that brings the predatory sequence to completion. It's not optional. It's the part that tells your cat's brain, the hunt is done. You're safe. Everything is as it should be. To your cat, 10 minutes of you holding a wand and moving it like prey isn't just play. In cat language, it means, I see you. I understand what you need. You are not invisible to me. And every winter that passes without it is a winter your cat spends sending that message into silence. 7. holiday chaos, and the one thing that protects everything else. December and January bring something else into the equation. New people moving through your home. New scents layering over familiar ones. Music, voices, doors opening and closing, routines shifted by hours or days. For you, that is celebration. For your cat, the environment that felt predictable and safe has become something genuinely unrecognizable, and their nervous system is responding accordingly. Cats build their sense of safety almost entirely from predictability. Their feeding time, their playtime, their quiet retreat spots. These aren't preferences or habits. They are the architecture of a life that feels manageable to an animal whose entire survival history is built around reading environmental consistency. When the holidays disrupt that architecture, cats don't express distress loudly. They find a corner and wait. They eat less. They sleep in lighter cycles. One ear always partially open, never fully at rest. Their immune system, already taxed by winter air quality and temperature regulation, takes on the additional load of sustained stress hormones. The solution isn't to cancel your life during the holidays. It is to protect your cat's life within it. Create one room they can always retreat to. Their bed, their water, something that carries your scent, and keep it accessible and quiet, regardless of what's happening elsewhere in the house. Hold their feeding and play schedule as close to consistent as possible, even on your busiest days. Consider a synthetic feline pheromone diffuser in their safe space, which research has shown measurably reduces cortisol levels in cats exposed to environmental disruption. Because here's the thing, your cat will not remember the holiday. They will not remember the gathering, or the music, or the specific people who came through your door. But they will remember, in the way cats remember, through body chemistry and nervous system and the deep cellular language of safety, whether they felt protected during the moments their world stopped making sense, whether someone made sure they were okay, whether you were paying attention. That is the relationship, not the grand gestures, the consistent ones, the small, daily, deliberate choices that say, in language your cat actually understands, I know what you need. I see what you can't tell me in words, and I'm not going to let winter take that from you. The next time your cat grows quiet in January, don't read it as comfort. Read it as a question they've been asking since the first cold morning arrived, in the only language they will ever have. Are you paying attention? Do you see me? Do you understand what I need from you? The owners who answer that question, with water, with moving air, with play, with warmth in all the forms it actually takes, are the ones who get to spend winter with a cat who never stopped choosing them. Your cat has been trying to tell you this since the first cold day. Now you speak the language.